Forward to this. Hey, everybody, this is Liz from Augusta, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. And sometimes I get to share some of my team and what we do together every day. And today I'm going to let my teammate introduce herself, and then we'll go from there.
Hey everybody, my name is Jessi and I work at Command.
Fantastic. So let's learn a little bit about you first, and then we'll find out what you do at Command Center. So, what do you do each day when you come to Command Center? And then before that, tell me a little bit about yourself and growing up. Were you growing up in Washington State? And a little bit about your family, siblings. Fire away.
Oh, deal. Okay, so at Command, every day I'm actually in several departments. I'm sure a lot of people have seen me in there, but I do payroll, I do our P4P, I help with franchisee invoicing, I do chats if they need help, answer phones. I don't think there's anything I don't do at this point. I mean, there are a couple things that I don't do, like collections and things like that, but I kind of have hands everywhere here. Anywhere where my teammates need help or our franchisees, I'm always happy to jump in. So kind of that's like my overarching. Right now I'm working on a lot of special projects for people, a lot of price increases right now, which is great. Getting folks their money. Aside from me, I have lived in Washington for the last 15 years. I'm originally I was born in Nevada. I was actually born in Elko, Nevada, and we lived some of my life in Bismarck, North Dakota. But we actually moved around quite a bit. My stepdad was in construction and he was always moving. So we landed here. And when I got into high school, and my little brother started elementary school, they decided it was time for us to stop moving, which I appreciated. Being
Yes.
new all the time really stinks. It's not fun to be the new person all the time. I do have three brothers. I'm the only girl. And so my mom, same, she had three brothers as well. And so she was the only girl. So we're pretty tough gals in our family. But yeah, we have a little bit of a age gap in our family. So my youngest brother is 30 and my oldest brother is about to be in his 50s.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so there's a bit of an age gap. I'm a great aunt already. My niece has two really wonderful children. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I have six animals. I have,
Wow.
yeah, I have three cats and three dogs, help foster quite a few animals and do things like that. So always busy inside and outside of work.
We had an offsite meeting a little while back, and we all went around and shared some things about ourselves that everybody else might not know. And you talked about all of the things you did in high school that were extracurricular. Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, so I was always busy in school. I actually really thrived in high school, middle school, not so much. Middle school, I think if any of us remember, was not like our best times. We were getting through it, but high school, so I was a varsity swimmer. I was a varsity track thrower. I did shot put. And so those were the two sports that I did. I was also involved in our high school musicals, which I did all 4 years, which was really fun. I was part of our student body as being like ASB president, vice president, and things like that. Senior year, I was prom queen, just that was really
Nice.
fun. Yeah, that was exciting. Um, yeah, I participated in a lot of things for fun one year. I decided to try out for cheerleading as a joke, just to be funny. My friend was the head cheerleader, and we just thought it'd be funny. And they were like, "Actually, do you want to be our mascot?" And I was like,
No way.
"Sure did." So yeah, I always had a lot of fun. I was always very busy in school too, and then I started to work as well. On top of it, I did like a lot of um, I was like in the academic courses, like higher classes, and then I started working. My first job was, as most people in Washington, was at a berry farm. So that
Mm.
was my first. It was my first, and then I got into working at McDonald's, and I did so well there. They actually had my parents sign paperwork. So because I was their youngest manager at 15,
Wow.
so I was managing McDonald's and doing sports and going to school. So I was pretty motivated, but I get that from my parents. My parents are very hard workers, so
Wow, that is so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. It's kind of
yeah.
nice to get to know the background of someone. So how did you come to Augusta?
So I had just moved back. We had moved to Puyallup for a year, and it just wasn't an area that we really enjoyed because my mom and brothers live here. And so moved back. I had just gotten hired at T-Mobile, and it was okay. It just wasn't my personal favorite. It just didn't feel like it was my calling necessarily. I Prior to that, I actually worked 5 years as a regional manager for a specialty retail store, managing five companies from Bellingham all the way to Spokane and Idaho. So that's what I had done prior. T-Mobile felt a little bit slow for me, and I was talking to my friend Brian Cedarquist, who works here. And I was just like, I could really use a new job. And he's like, actually, we're hiring. And he was like, if you would, he's like, I would, not many people. He was like, would I be a reference for? He was like, but he's like, I do believe that you would be a good fit. And then, yeah, I just sent it in and it's just been great from there. It's definitely more my style, my speed. Really like what we're doing here. I align way more with our core values here. So,
Nice. So could you share one of the core values that you think you emulate most?
well, there's a couple that I would say being like emotional about the brand, and I
Mm-hmm.
say that in the way of just because it is exciting to watch us grow. I do get to be part of the Facebook group. I don't say anything in there, but it's really fun to watch like our franchisees just be excited for each other, cheer each other on. Really impressed with some of like our younger guys who have been coming up, and it's just like really impressive. So just being excited about a brand and just watching it go. Um, and then I would also say that the we do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think it's really impressive what you guys do and our agents do here with we are very well taken care of, but I think it's really fun to watch everybody work together and figure out like how can we do this without having to buy something new or we can figure it out. That's another one because we do figure it
Yes.
out.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
there's quite a few I align with here.
How long have you been at Augusta?
A year and a half. I've been here a year and a
Wow.
half now. Yeah.
Wow, so much has happened in a year and a half. And there are times, just so the audience knows, that we all hire people. And there are times when somebody comes on and you watch them progress really fast. They're always willing to take on more. They're a team player. They speak up when things need to be said. They're not a pushover, but they're kind. And Jessi embodies all of these things. She has a real heart for the owners, which I appreciate. And tell us what a day in the life of Jessi looks like at Command Center.
So I get here at pretty early. I have my early shift, but I love it. So get start at 5. First thing I do is I hop right into the chats. I want to make sure that anybody that was left on red from the day before, because as we know, we're only here so long. So I first hop right into the chats and make sure anybody who has needed help is getting their help. So do that right away. And then I go through emails. I make sure I check our help email. If anyone is wanting special requests or projects, I check that out. I also note any other projects that I had from the day before that I didn't complete, making sure that all that gets taken care of. Of course, if the phones are busy, then I need to be answering the phones between all of these tasks as well. And then once it hits about 8 or 9, I begin P4P. During spring rush, P4P is very busy. Winter, it's a little bit of a different story, but just making sure, we're going through that. And then just, yeah, constantly answering emails, checking in with coworkers. I work pretty directly with Taylor, specifically. So if she ever needs any help or wants me to do a project, I check in with her. So that's kind of my day is just really just making sure that I can be of service to anybody who needs it, whether that's our franchisees or my coworkers.
So let's break it down a little bit. Copilot, the mobile app, is also integrated into Copilot. So when you do someone's P4P each day, how does that work? Pulling all the numbers, and then what's the final process? Do you send the report to the employee, to the owner? How does the P4P process work?
Yeah, so for P4P, it really depends on who we send the reports to. When we do our onboarding call with them, we ask, would you like your employees to get these reports, or would you just like, as the manager, to get them yourself? Usually they start with just themselves because they want to see what they can do too as they're learning to make sure that their staff is getting P4P. Like, are they estimating, properly? Maybe they're underbidding jobs, making it really hard for their staff. So, kind of a learning curve. But so, what we do is we go in and we're always running the day prior. So, today's Friday. When I start P4P today, I'm going to be running Thursday. Going to be checking the dispatch board. We see all the jobs that they've worked. We're going to run through if they have any special requests. Like I know Bellingham, they have a certain percentage for just their mowing right now. So we make sure that we're in P4P. There's two different areas. We're making sure that the additional rates are correct. So once we have all of that done, we're going to generate the report for them. And once that report is done, if they want it sent to everybody, we'll send it to all the managers, including their staff. And they get to see their efficiency score for the day, P4P earned versus like their base wage, because that's kind of how it works. Is if your base wage, they have to make more P4P than their base wage for them to get a bonus. So they kind of are looking at that. If it's just sent to managers, then we'll just send it to the manager for them to go over. It's a really good tool. It ties into payroll for us because I'm also in that department. So when we send those out, if there's an error, if say somebody, because we have a list of assumptions that we make that they are aware of, but say somebody forgot to clock out, one of our assumptions is we're going to clock them out 30 minutes past their last job. But if we send that report out, the manager catches it, they can send us a chat and be like, hey, Joe actually forgot he should have clocked out at this time and not this time. So it kind of is a second set of eyes too
Mhm.
for the manager to know, like, is my crew clocking in and out appropriately? Are they taking their breaks? We can also track things for them if their staff is late or if they're no shows. So it has a whole bunch of features for them, which is really wonderful.
So how does payroll tie in with that? Do you typically at Command Center have the people that are doing P4P also do payroll and are trained in that department?
They typically are. We only have one gal in P4P who is not in payroll. However, that's because she's in a very busy department herself. She does the Augusta leads, and so she's pretty busy. But the other two of us, we are in payroll. And the reason I think that's really helpful and it ties in is if we are running your P4P, we typically are running your payroll, and that's where we're going to pull reports. So that's where we'll get the hours that the employees worked. That's where we'll get their P4P bonus. And so we're able to input all of that into ADP or QuickBooks, whichever they use, to get their payroll sent off for preview. It is nice to work in both because say I'm in payroll and I'm entering in somebody's time card, I'm pretty comfortable in the fact that like Marcus from Redmond should probably not have 140 hours of overtime. That's
Yes.
probably something he's not doing, but I would only know that if I run his P4P regularly. Or if there's an area where they do regularly work overtime, I'm comfortable knowing that that is probably correct. So you can catch things faster, like you'll catch duplicates of a time card. You'll notice the bonus seems really high, like, oh, that's kind of unusual. And because I'm in the P4P department, I can go back and ensure that a different agent, or even myself didn't make a mistake, and we can catch that and make sure we send a proper preview.
Was it hard for you to learn the P4P software and P4P in general, or is that right down your alley?
It took me a minute. I was really surprised because I typically like to say that I'm just someone who gets it. That's just how my brain has always worked. Like you show me something, you let me do it once, I typically have it. It took me a second to understand it because it is a little complex in a really positive way. Now that I get it, I'm like, why did I not get that before?
Mhm.
Why did I not get that before? But it's just because there's so many little intricacies and it's really important um, to really go over that P4P book to really understand. And that is such a great tool that somebody gave me. They were like, read this and understand the formulas, and you're going to get it. So it took me, okay, it probably didn't take me that long, but for me, it felt like it took a long time to to understand. But after about 2 months of really working it and getting having a wonderful lead who went over things with me and just making sure like I understood the process, I felt like it was good, or I was doing a great job. It just took me a little bit longer, because I wasn't utilizing understanding the formula that P4P uses. Once you understand the formulas that are used, it's easy from there.
We have what's called an onboarding call when a franchisee asks to be on a department, and you've been taking over some of that. I'm not sure about payroll, but definitely for P4P. And tell us how one of those calls go.
So yeah, so I for the P4P, I have two things ready. I'll have a list of questions that I'm going to ask the franchisee after I go over a whole. It's a essentially a script, but it's just to really go over the intricacies of P4P. We understand you're not going to remember that the first go over with you, so we're always very patient with it. But we'll go over the process. I'll read you the script, go over how we do P4P, what P4P means, how your crew is earning it, what projects are. We'll go over the list of assumptions that we also like to send to them in a chat because you're not going to remember everything, I'm going to assume, from that one phone call.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go over everything, and then of course open it up if you had any questions regarding P4P, if they didn't quite understand it, if they wanted us to go over another section. And then after that, then I'll ask questions to the franchisee, like what would you like the labor revenue percentage to be? Would you like that to be 33% for your employees? During summer, or excuse me, during spring, do you want them to get a little bit more for mowing? Do you want a little bit less? So we'll just ask them all the things. And then we'll also ask them, when is your next payroll? Can we get your information to get integrated? So we'll just go over a whole list of everything with them. And then once the call is done, I'll create a chat for them because we have a P4P payroll and onboarding chat. We'll get them introduced to that and let them know if they ever have any questions, or if we have questions, we can send that in there. And so that's how those calls typically go.
Fantastic. So, how has it been for you now you've been added to the project department? And what kind of projects do the owners ask for? And how do you build them? And then how do you pass them on to the team? And how do you know who to pass them on to? How does the project department work?
So I've actually really enjoyed the projects department just because I really like fine, detailed items. It took a bit for me to learn just because I was kind of handed the projects, which was totally fine with me. I have a great team of folks that I can ask questions to. Right now, the heaviest one is price increases, is what happens. But we have a whole slew of things of, could you please, update my website? And then we'll send that to the appropriate person. Or I would like this email template made, or I would like these automations made. Or right now, we even have a couple folks asking to do their Stripe check for them because that's just not something they have time for. And so anything that we don't typically offer, they will ask, hey, is that
Nice.
something you can do for us? And if we can, of course, we're going to. And so, but right now for the price increases, they'll submit that. And then I'll start emailing them questions. Like they may give me a basis. Some people are really familiar with how price increases work. So they'll send me an email and know exactly what to tell me. I want it raised by 20% across the board. I want this, this, and this. Or they just might simply tell me, hey, I want a price increase, in which I need to email them and ask them, did you want it? What is the percentage you want? Did you want that across the board? Did you want that just for weekly and then your biweekly to be, 1.5 times that? Is this for all reoccurring services? So just working to make sure whatever they want increased is done properly. And then I've been going through, you guys did a wonderful job with like the email templates, but I've been changing the price increases up just a bit to be more tailored to their location. Because if it's effective this date or if it's affecting these services. So once we get all of those questions answered, I go into their client base and I use filters. Some are like, I want all of my clients increased, and some are like, please don't increase my clients excuse me, customers who have joined in the last 30, 60, or 90 days. I'll filter out appropriately. I'll build the sheet based off of that, off of the customers. I'll put in their weekly prices, biweekly prices, and then to make it easy, I just plop formulas right into the sheet, which will tell me the new prices and the new budgeted hours, so you don't have to individually go through. You do, though, have to individually go through every client's profile to figure out what their pricing is. But once that's all built, I'll also include a set of instructions of what my agents will read, and then I'll send it back to the franchisee and ask them to please go over my sheet. Let me know if there's any customers that they don't want to include on there, and let me know if that email template looks nice enough for them and if those instructions seem good. Once it's approved, then I pass it off to an agent. As much as I would love to do those myself, there's more projects to build, so we need to pass them off to other agents. To find the agents to do them, we try to go with those who aren't on the phones first because phones are priority. So we do have a few agents who are strictly just doing computer work. So I typically go for those first. If they're already inundated with projects, I will try to find those who are good at multitasking, who can do tasks in between, or for those who are comfortable. And at times, like a couple weeks ago, we were just a little bit backed up. So um, I just came in and completed one myself. And so it just kind of depends on where we're at with those.
Interesting. Yeah. So, a person that comes to Augusta usually finds it quite different than places they've worked before. We are a startup, we're moving fast, it can be pretty uncomfortable. So, how has that been for you in comparison to other places you've been?
I feel like for me, I was actually really comfortable, but the company that I had worked for prior for 5 years, for the five locations, they were also new. And so I'm very comfortable with things having to change on the fly, um, having to have uncomfortable conversations, realizing that, maybe an idea that I thought was wonderful wasn't so wonderful, and you have to pivot and you have to move. So for me, this feels like home. This is a very comfortable place for me. For others, though, who aren't used to that, I just encourage people to embrace it. That is how, life, we just never know what's going to happen. Life is always changing. You never know what the day is going to bring. And that's kind of how work is. And you just have to have a positive outlook on it. But we have to understand, I firmly believe this is a company that has probably been the most open about anything. I've never had, even as close as I was to my previous like ownership, they never shared with staff their profitability or what their numbers are. They weren't constantly checking in with the stores the way they should have, the way that Mike and you make time to check on your franchisees, having Nick do calls with them and make sure that they're doing well. So if it seems scary, don't be scared. You just have to be willing to go with the flow. And if you don't have a go with the flow personality, that might be a little tough, but it might be really healthy for you to learn that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's, yeah, like I said, it's great. This is something I thrive in. But for folks who don't, just ride the wave because
Yeah.
it's cool at the end. So.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So how has it been also for you with the culture there? Is there something different about our culture? Is it good? Is it something that we are constantly working on to get better? I know that sometimes when you hire people, it's not always easy to integrate them into a new culture. It's not always easy for the team. So what is it like there? When you actually bring somebody in and they're not quite a good fit with the culture that you have, and what would you say our culture's like?
Well, I would say our cultures, I really enjoy the co-workers that I have here and also those who are virtual with us. I think that everyone is very respectful of each other. What I appreciate here is I don't feel like anyone is afraid to speak up, but in a respectful manner. I like that there's no like guessing games of how somebody's feelings. I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere where you can kind of like tell there's like tension between people and it's really uncomfortable. That's just not something that is allowed to be fostered here. And that's something that I really appreciate. I think our coworkers respect each other
Mhm.
very well. And it's hard to have new people come in because you don't know their personality type. They don't know your personality type. And some people don't mesh, and
Mhm.
that's okay.
Yeah.
It is hard, but that's just part of being new to a company. I think that you guys do a really nice job. I think you hire very well, so I don't feel like we have have really had that. I know when I was new here, we had a very large groups of people. When I
Hmm.
started, we were probably, I believe, the two largest groups you guys have ever hired. So that was a little bit different, being like hodgepodged with all these
Hmm.
new folks in there. And it can be rough, but I think if you're open and honest with your management about, hey, I feel like this is going, instead of letting it fester,
Yeah.
as you know, Liz, I'm not someone who lets things fester.
Nope.
Nope, I'm just going to come right to you and I'm just going to tell you exactly how it is because I think that's really healthy. And I feel like a lot of folks here believe that and are that way. And if they aren't doing well, I feel like coworkers try to support each other here and help them get better. And if it's something that they're just not catching on, you do a great job of just being like, hey, maybe it is time to move on to another job, but I
Hmm.
always have believed you guys have tried to move them into positions that maybe work better for them because not everyone is fit for, say, P4P or payroll, but maybe they are really wonderful with customers on the phone and maybe that's just where their focus should be. So I think you guys do a great job navigating that. But yeah, some people just don't mesh. And that's just because maybe they don't love being on the phone. Maybe they
Hmm.
don't love computer work. So it's good for them to go somewhere else at that
Hmm.
point.
You seem to be a person of high integrity and high character, and that does not come easy in life. So, what do you think it is about you that makes you the person you are?
I'd have to say probably I always reference my parents, but I have wonderful parent. My mom and my stepdad are wonderful people. My stepdad is 83 and he still works full time. I've shared
Wow.
that with you. Yeah, he's a hard worker. My mom has always been a very hard worker herself. Um, I used to be picked on pretty heavily, like as we all were in school. But like I said, high school, for some reason, I really thrived and really did well. And I'm a really sensitive person. I'm pretty tender. I like to seem tough, but I genuinely account for how everybody feels. So if I make somebody feel bad, I'm going to feel horrible for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And so I truly like to treat people how I like to be treated. I just like to live my life that way. Am I perfect at it? No, I can be cranky sometimes. We're human, but there's nothing worse than having someone make you feel like garbage all day long. And that's never an intention that I've had. And unfortunately, I've had a few things in my life that haven't always been perfect or wonderful. And so you just learn to get through those. And for me, lying is really gross. That's
Hmm.
just not something uh unfortunately, that was something that my real dad was really into was the constant lying. And I don't like to guess what someone's telling me, and I don't want them to ever guess if what I'm telling them is true. So I just live my life pretty openly. I don't believe I'm an oversharer too much, but you'll never have to guess with me. I'll always tell you very genuinely how I'm feeling. Even if I'm frustrated with you, I'll be kind to you about it, but you'll know where we stand because you shouldn't have to guess and I shouldn't have to guess. And I was
Yeah.
just raised that way. You just got to treat people how you want to be treated.
Wow. I appreciate that. How has it been for you as well? Um, Listening to things, watching the Augusta content, is that something you try to do? There's just so much volume that we have. You said you're trying to stay in tune with the Facebook to understand what franchisees are going through, what they're experiencing. And do you listen to anything that helps you in Augusta? And do you listen to anything, watch anything that makes you a better person in personal development? Or are you typically detaching and refreshing in general with other curricular things that you listen to? And how does that work with your life?
So I try to have the balance. I do watch a lot of the YouTubes that Mike put out. I'm not much of a TV watcher in general, but I've always really enjoyed watching YouTube. So that's just something, it's easy because you can listen, you don't necessarily
Right.
need to watch. And so I do try to listen to those regularly because I do like to know what's going on. I like to be part of where I work and understand what's happening. And make sure I'm ahead of things too. I know how AI is coming out, and it's really important to learn those things. So, like, I've personally taken time to become Microsoft certified in AI software and things like that because I think it's important to stay ahead of the curve. I don't want
Hmm.
to be left behind when
Yes.
those things happen. Um, but I will listen to, so you always suggest an Audible
Hmm.
to listen to. For a while, I was finding them in book form. I'm somebody who prefers to read versus listen to a book. My life is very busy with six pets now, specifically three dogs. So Audibles have become my friend. So I typically will listen to the Audible that you have recommended for the month. And that's what I really like to listen to just for like learning purposes, for business. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of the art of saying no.
Yes.
That's specifically one of my favorites.
Really.
I'm really bad at saying no. So I've listened to that a few a few times. So I'll like listen to things like that. I do like to detach a little bit. I am a little bit of a nerd. I really like the Crime Junkie podcast. That's
Hmm.
something that I enjoy. Right now I'm regularly doing a lot of like walking though.
Hmm.
And so, like, I'm trying to fill my time with like outdoor activity, trying to get myself healthier,
Hmm.
trying to feel better. So, it's kind of a mix of what I listen to.
That is great. Yeah, and that means that you're a well-rounded person, and we so appreciate having you at Augusta. You're just a high-performing employee, a person in general. You're a great part of the team. You are the perfect Augustan, and we just so appreciate you. So, wrapping up today, can you share a little bit of encouragement to the owners from what you've seen and from what you've worked with them, as well as someone that is serving Augusta Nation, maybe at Command Center or helping other owners? What would you say to the owner that might be discouraged when they work with us? Sometimes they might get frustrated. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Oh, that's a good one. So I would just say, just at the end of the day, remember a couple things. We are human at the end of the computer. Sometimes typing does not come off the way.
Mm,
That's the hardest part is conveying emotion through typing. Some of us, like myself, I'll add exclamation points, smiley faces to convey that I'm not frustrated or irritated. They don't have time for that, and we understand that. We
mm-hmm,
understand they're trying to get to the point. I highly encourage voice notes. That's something Liz has gotten me into, but I highly encourage voice notes because that may convey what you're trying to say better. Um, as well, but just know that the people behind the screen answering you, we genuinely want you to do well. We really do want your clients to be taken care of. If you feel like, man, they're always calling me about this one customer, it's because we really want to make sure that customer is taken care of, but also maybe it's time for us to break up with them for you. We are happy to get rid of problem customers for you because you deserve to have peace in your customer base. But just know that the folks who are working here, we genuinely want you to do well. We are working together to make sure that anything that you do like or you would want, we want to do. But there is going to be error. We do our best to not have those, but just be encouraged in the fact that we're always going to take care of you. You do come first. The phones, yes, they are important, but if you have a whole slew of customers that you just don't know what to do with, or you're frustrated or you're irritated, you can also vent. You're welcome to. We've had a couple franchisees who just, like, I just don't really know what to do. I'm just really irritated with these people. We're here to listen. We're here to help your customers. And don't be afraid to ask. I know sometimes I think that's the biggest thing is they're like, oh, are we bothering them? Or maybe that's something they wouldn't do. Just ask. The worst thing we're ever going to tell you is unfortunately we can't do that for you, but maybe we can, and maybe we just took a giant thing off of your plate for you that's been stressing you out for a long time. So just ask and just know that we are going to do it always to the best of our ability, and we're going to take ownership. A
mm-hmm.
proper employee, if we do goof, we're going to take ownership, we're going to fix it, we're going to work together, and we're not going to make that mistake again.
And from the other side, what would you say to the command center agent or even office staff that work there at Augusta in their own offices to some of the bigger companies? What would you say to them as they serve?
again, be mindful that whatever is being typed to you is being typed. Do not take it personal. Like I said, I'm a pretty sensitive person, so be mindful that whatever they're saying to you, they have a job to do. They want to take care of their customers. They have things to do. If they seem like they're frustrated because you made a mistake, our mistakes can cost them money. And so being efficient doesn't mean going fast. Going fast can often cause error. Being efficient means going slow and doing it right the first time. So just remember that for people who maybe aren't the best multitaskers, it's okay to acknowledge that and take it one task at a time. We want to make sure that we're serving everybody efficiently and properly, and we don't want them to lose customers based off of mistakes we're making. So just really make sure you take your time. Utilize your tools. That's the biggest thing I'd probably share with Command.
Hmm.
We have so many tools at our fingertips, from AI like Chat GPT to the agent next to you, your lead. You have the computer. There's so much access and so much tools. Use them. We have wikis. If you don't know anything about, that particular franchise, look in their wiki, read what you can from there. And if you're still confused, ask. Don't ever be afraid to ask.
Wow, that's great. So we appreciate your time today. Augusta Nation will enjoy hearing it. Those that are not a part of Augusta Nation that are thinking of joining, they will hear how things work at Command Center. It's a service that we offer, not mandatory, not expected unless they need us. And it's an a la carte service. So it's just here to be a gift and a support to the owners as well as those that work in Augusta Nation and are serving. I think that your story and what you have to share is very beneficial and will help us all. Are there any final words that you'd like to give? A quote, something inspirational to you that keeps you going?
Oh gosh. I don't know necessarily a quote, but what keeps me going is just knowing, did you do a little bit good today?
Mm,
That's really encouraging for me. Like, where did you put a little bit of good in your day? So just
that's
remember
awesome.
that. Yeah, no matter where you're at, did you sprinkle a little bit of good somewhere? Because that always comes back to you.
Fantastic. That's a great note to end on. Thank you for your time. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.